T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. I am David L. Lester Massey, your friendly Let's Stop HIV Together campaign ambassador. But today I am not alone. I have some wonderful company that I'd like to introduce you to. I met this phenomenal female about a month or so ago in person. Mind you, we'd actually met 2 to 3 years ago. We were at the height of a pandemic that really gripped the world. So now I have the pleasure of having a much needed, much overrated, I can't think of all of the words that this conversation is going to give you. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce my panelist, my co-host, who has become my friend and fellow ambassador, Miss Shadon McCants. Hello, Shadon.
Hey, David.
So good to see you, my dear.
Yes, you as well, of course, virtually. But like you said, we got to hug and love and embrace, about 3-4 weeks ago, and it felt really good. So yeah.
It did. And I can't tell you the love that, it was like instantaneous. I was like, I've got to talk to this girl. Everybody has got to know what's going on and who Miss Shadon McCants is. So I want you to, we're just going to jump right in. Is that okay?
That is fine with me. Let's do
Okay,
it.
so many people think that there is a method to David's madness. Why does David do the things that he does? Why is he on this campaign? Why is he so gung-ho about stopping HIV together? And because I think that it is so timely and it is so necessary, but then also because I know that I'm not doing the work alone. And like I said, when I met you, our energy was just infectious. It was contagious. Everybody just thought we had been knowing each other all along. But one thing that I did not get a chance to tap into when we first met was something that I want to tap into now, especially for our viewers. If you are just joining us, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to Official DMAS right here on Facebook. And you can also I'll let you know how to follow Miss Shadon McCants in just a while. But listen, I want her to be able to share in her own words. Shadon, when did you become diagnosed, and what was the first thing you thought once you received that diagnosis?
So first off, of course, thank you for having me today, David. Like you said, I am an ambassador for the CDC, and it's an amazing opportunity and role that, like you, I think it's our second time. It's our second go at this. And so yes, you've introduced it, but I like to always, let folks know I'm a beautiful, bold Black woman. Yes, living and thriving with an HIV diagnosis for 27 years. December 19th will make 28 years. And I found out at the tender age of 17. I was a senior in high school. And my story is a little different, I tell people. First off, one, because I actually, in my spirit, knew that something was off. What happened was I caught meningitis, and I was hospitalized for 6 days. And being hospitalized and I know it's like 6-7 days, but anyway, I was hospitalized 8 spinal taps or so later. I had to advocate for myself and ask for an HIV test. This was in 1995, 3 years after Magic Johnson had been diagnosed. but yet I was a strong Black woman at that time. And so that wasn't even something that crossed their mind. But because of the spirit that dwelled inside of me, I knew to go ask. And so when I got diagnosed, for me, it was two things I heard very loud and clear. This isn't unto death. The second thing that I heard is I'm gonna use you. And I said, okay, I'm 17, God. I sat in the doctor's office and I was like, the devil's a lie. Not me, not us, not we, not in 1995. Like, stigma was really,
Yeah.
all we knew then was, white gay men and HIV. We didn't know or even think that this was anything that was impacting the African American community, let alone Black women or women, period. So that's a little bit about how the journey started, when the journey got started. And for me, what that was like. I have to be honest. The one thing though, like some people ask me, when I say that those were the two things, was like there was nothing else that came online. Now, eventually, yes, fear, shame, and guilt. I tell people I gave birth to those triplets. And when you're birthing something, that's what you carry. And so for 23, 24 years, I carried shame, fear, and guilt until 2019. So that's just a little bit about the start of my story. I don't know how much more you want me to go into that. Yeah.
And it's so refreshing to hear the perspective, and that's why I really wanted to title this show HIV and the Black Woman, because we are the Black woman is so disproportionately affected, just as disproportionately affected as a Black gay man.
Mm-hmm.
But we only hear about any of the ways that we can close that gap between affected communities like our Caucasian counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think why do you think that is? And what do you think are some of the ways that we can close that gap?
That is a very tough question. But of course, we're in an uprising because Black folks is no longer sitting. We're no longer quiet. Unfortunately, we do live in a racist society. I'm just going to say it. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. I do believe that, yes, we are making strides. However, I mean, the reason that is, of course, when we talk about disproportionately impacted, like you said, we know that the statistics are 1 in 2 every same gender loving African American male is susceptible to contracting HIV. And right behind him is 1 in every 48 Black women. 60% of new diagnoses we know overall throughout the US is 40% African American. And of that, 60% of new diagnoses are Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not having that conversation. And so how do we, what do we do? So of course, as a Black woman who is living and thriving with an HIV diagnosis, I have two tracks. I have a track of prevention, and I have a track of empowering and emboldening my women that are living with HIV to be able to thrive with a diagnosis, not just exist. So what do we do? How do we do that? I think, of course, some of the things that we're doing, being a part of the CDC's ambassadorship, showing that, our faces, our voices matter, and being influential in how do we share the message, being, having a say-so in what it looks like, and making sure that Black and brown bodies, male and females, are displayed, demonstrated, our voices are heard in everything that goes on. One of the things I tell people, there will be no end to the epidemic if you do not include Black and brown bodies, period. And I go a little further, of course, there will be no end additionally without Black women. On the
Absolutely.
Black women, I feel like a lot of things have been created and our voices have been dismissed, whether we're looking at it from the aspect of, I know folks gonna get mad, the church, misogyny, patriarchy, it's so many things when it comes to women and especially Black women and our voices being heard. But yet when there's something that needs to go down, who you calling?
Exactly.
So I really believe that we need to begin to center Black and brown bodies, and specifically Black bodies. I mean, that's what I represent right now. That's definitely a large piece. And then, of course, addressing the medical mistrust that's there. I deal with, and I'm a part of several studies and research panels where we're trying to research Black women and HIV, Black women in prevention, specifically PrEP. And, it's hard, I can be honest, to get Black women to come and be a part of conversation, be a part of the research, because I get the conversation of, well, why us? Why y'all targeting us? And it's like, no, we're actually not targeting you. This is actually an opportunity for you to be included, because oftentimes you're not. Oftentimes we are not. We're not a part of a lot of things. We're an afterthought. And now it's an opportunity for us to be a forethought. So
I know you said that people are going to get mad. I really don't care about making people upset. I'm okay with disrupting the pattern. I really am okay with all of that. But you touched on a couple of things that I want to make sure that we drill down into. One, people need to understand and know what PrEP and PEP is and how they work and how they can benefit not just one community, but every community. So can you talk to people about what PrEP and PEP is and how they're used?
So you're asking me to go into my ambassador role.
I am. That's what we do.
And it is. So, okay, guys. So when we talk about PrEP and PEP, the way that I do this is, of course, we have Plan B for individuals who get pregnant, actually have a night, and they be like, oops, I ain't trying to have this boy. I ain't trying to have this baby, not by him. PrEP, that's what I attribute or correlate PrEP to being. So PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis. What that is that's a pill that you can take, a pill once a day, and or now an injectable that you can get every 2 months. So yes, it used to be for a long time only in pill form. Now it's in pill or injectable. And what it does is it helps you to prevent you from contracting HIV at a rate of approximately about 98% effectiveness. And it is available to everyone. Now, again, when we talk about women, when we talk about Black women, when we just, what we can be honest is that for a long time, up until about what I think 3-4 years ago, and it's a little longer than that. Let me stop. But what we know is that initially when PrEP was developed and came out on the market, it was not for women. Women were not able to take it, but now women can take PrEP. It is for you. It is for all women, and especially Black women. You can take it as well. Of course, like everything, it has its side effects, but that's when you have a conversation with your provider and you weigh the options of if it is an option for you for preventing, for you from contracting HIV. And then there is PEP. PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis. That is a medication that you take. Actually, I got that all wrong. I got that so wrong. Let's correct that.
I knew you gonna fix it. I knew you gonna fix it. That's why I ain't say nothing.
Breaks and we live, so let me correct that in this moment. PEP is Plan B.
Post-exposure.
PrEP is birth control.
Correct.
For HIV. Let's correct that. I know what I'm talking about. I'm getting ahead of myself, and then you're not gonna correct me. That's what we do.
I knew you would. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yes, guys. So there is Plan B. Yes, when you have had that that mistake. So what you can do actually is if you do have a night, hot girl summer, hot girl more so night, and within 72 hours you decide, you know what, that was something that was a vulnerable situation, and that you feel like you may have been exposed because either the person has told you or you heard something, or we know there's incidents where people unfortunately may be raped or sexually assaulted.
Yes.
And so you have an opportunity to get to an emergency room, and or there are certain providers that have access to PEP. PEP, you do, as far as the last time I checked, it's still 30 days of medications, but the effectiveness definitely prevents you at a very high rate of, again, contracting HIV. So PrEP is like the birth control for HIV, and then there is PEP, which is the Plan B for HIV. Hopefully I did that right this time.
Yes. So, and I also wanted to that was one of the things that I wanted to draw down into. But then I also, because I sit at the intersection of so many communities, the African American community, the LGBTQ community, the community of faith. And you sparked on something uh, early on in the conversation about things that, and I like to say that I am faith sensitive. So I am respective of everybody's faith. You are allowed to believe whatever it is you want to believe. I'm not going to try to sway you one way or the other. If you are just joining, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe this particular conversation for someone who may be assisted with this conversation and the topics that we're discussing. So when we talk about communities of faith, especially for people of color, especially for women of color, what are some types of conversations that you wish were going on in those faith spaces?
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah, I know.
The honest truth is I just wish we were talking about that, we were having the real conversation about sex in the church. The idea is that in the church, sex is something that is only discussed for those that are married, period. And we know that that's not the case. Let's not talk about what's going on in the pulpit. Let's not talk about what's going on in the choir stand. Let's not talk about what's going on with the usher board. Like, let's be real. We see what's happening. It's happening. You know, we know that a lot, like, where do you find Black women? At a brunch and at church. And more than likely, they're going to go to church and then they're going to go to brunch. Not
That's
saying
true.
we don't do nothing else, women, but
True.
those are two places, two large spaces and places that we find Black women, but we're not having these conversations. And so when it comes to the church, it's like when it comes to Black women or women, period, we are to be seen and not heard. I feel like that's still, you know, it's still a belief in a lot of churches. And so because of that, we go silent and we're not talking about the things that are impacting us tremendously. When we just talked about how HIV is disproportionately impacting Black women, but yet we're not having the conversations in the space where she can at least get the information and the knowledge so that she can make an informed decision for herself. So I'm sorry, you know, pastors, leaders need to, you know, not just give World AIDS Day, because I mean, you may give us a red sticker and don't say nothing else. Don't even talk about, don't even acknowledge the individuals in the congregation that may be like, you don't even say it. Like, and yes, today is the day to honor and remember. What we doing? And so when we say honor the woman who is sitting here, who may be living with, have that conversation. And so when we're having the women conferences and all the things, I just think we need to stop acting like it's not happening, acting like the conversation. I mean, if the data don't lie. I mean, unfortunately, it just doesn't. And so I wish our churches would allow more safe spaces for these type of conversations.
And if you go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
And if you are a person of faith who's watching, just think about it this way. There was a story in the Bible about a woman with an issue of blood that she suffered with for 12 long years. So if you are a leader and you are looking for a place to start, incorporate that story. Incorporate this diagnosis into that story. That could be a perfect way of introducing a more broader subject. And you could be reaching people that are in your congregation and not even know it, because they feel like they are too ashamed to speak on it. They feel like they're too ashamed to really understand what it is that is going on with them emotionally, internally, mentally. And they look up to those people that are on those pulpits. They look up to those people that they are sitting beside and that call themselves leaders. So if you are in a leadership position and you are in a space of faith, then if you're ever looking for a way to reach another subsector of your audience who are women of color, this may be the perfect opportunity for you to do so.
And it is.
Just saying.
It definitely is, because I'm glad that you said that, David, because for me, actually, I used to attribute myself to the woman with the issue of blood. And still,
Mm,
I think, but for me, again, because she, it was for her, if only I could touch the hem of his garment. But
mhm.
there's also and again, I'm not the Bible.
Come on, talk.
But I also know about the person with what is it, the thorn in their side. And
Yeah.
it's just like there's a thing. And it's like you said, still use, because the people are there. Folks that are in church, a lot of them ain't going nowhere. I am a very spiritual person. I have a very direct conversation and relationship with God. And so for me, I can be honest. And a lot of people may disagree with this. I'm okay with my diagnosis, because I understand that my diagnosis is a part of my soul's assignment. And even being here present, I'm in alignment with that. But for the woman who doesn't know and is not able to understand, it is right. Because for so long, I did see myself as the woman with the issue of blood, if only I could touch the hem of his garment. So it is ways to incorporate it. It is ways to have these conversations so that, like you said, that woman who is looking up to you can see herself in the word. I just hope
And
that they do it different. I just hope that the faith community will do something different.
that is my hope. That is my prayer. I think that far too long we have been having a lopsided conversation
Mhm.
because, as you said, the data and the numbers don't lie. They speak for themselves. But if you don't know what that data is, if you don't know what those numbers are, if you only have a point of reference of it being this conversation between two African American people who are living and thriving with HIV, to be able to tell you firsthand experience that one of the things that Shadon stated that she heard very clearly, and it's actually something that I heard even in my own journey, is that this sickness is not unto death.
Mm-mm.
I always say that I was graced with
Mhm.
HIV.
Mhm.
People look at me and funny when I say that, because they super saints, and they get real deep, and they close their eyes and they squint, they try to get real deep. No, it's not deep at all. I feel like this was, and you said it perfectly, my soul's assignment.
Mhm.
This is something that it would, some of the things that people are hearing today, they probably would not believe if it were not coming out of my mouth.
Mhm.
And I, for so
Yeah.
long, wanted to keep it under wraps. What For years I lived with this diagnosis in silence. I
Mhm.
didn't speak to anybody about it. My family, friends, nobody knew. For years,
Mhm.
they saw me at events, they saw me in church, they saw me using my gifts, but they didn't see me.
Mhm.
And they didn't see me beyond the diagnosis. They
Yes.
only saw what they wanted to see, or what
Mhm.
I was allowing myself to show them, because
Exactly.
I felt like if they knew what was really going on, my issue,
Mhm.
if they really knew what was going on, then they would probably look at me differently, and that would feed right into the thing that we are working so hard as ambassadors to overcome, and that's stigma.
Exactly. And I can be honest, I have a story there.
Go
Actually,
ahead.
I did tell folks in my church, and I was bullied in the church by someone in the
Wow.
pulpit. So again, when we talk about, and so I have, yeah, for me, when I talk about it, I'm talking about it from a personal experience. And this is when I was early on in my diagnosis, and that was the one place that I thought was safe. And I was actually dating a young man in the church, and one of the ministers knew, but he also knew. I guess that you thought, you think nobody could love us. That's so
Mm,
inaccurate. You think that nobody wants to be with us. That's so inaccurate. And so she took and told him and his mama and a whole bunch of other folk. And it was like the leper at that point in the church
mm.
where you're supposed to be safe. So again, I hear you. I just pray. And like I hear your story. It's like you walk around and you're like wishing that you could show up. And that was what it was for me in 2019, December 19th. I took my life back. I said, hey, what we're not about to do is continue walking around afraid, in fear, with guilt. I'm not doing that no more. And so I took my story back. I think I wanted to put this into the space too, because it is for those individuals, because I know there are people here on this that will watch us, and we'll see this on the replay later today or tomorrow, whenever that is that when we say this isn't unto death, that's our story and that's the truth. However, I want you to know, in order for this diagnosis to not be unto death, you have to first know your status.
Come on.
Knowing your status means I need you to get tested. The other thing is, though, even for those that know their status and you are positive, in order again for this not to be unto death, for that to be the truth that it can be, is I need you to stay in treatment. I need you to get in treatment. I need you to stay in treatment. Because in order for you to live and thrive, I say this, you must choose life and not death. It's your choice. And so I want to make sure that's clear when I say that HIV isn't a death sentence. It doesn't have to be. I do know that it can be. And unfortunately, we are still losing sisters and brothers in 2023. And that's again because of like what we're trying to do here, stomp out stigma, because stigma is still real. But know that stigma is fear of those that don't know any better. So choose life over death, because you do have that choice, that you can begin to say that this isn't unto death. So I just wanted to make sure I put that in the space, because sometimes when people hear me, they're like, well, you're right. But it could also be your story. We don't have to be the two unicorns sitting here, even though there's so many. Just know that, though, that is, the story, and that's what it could be. We have advanced so much in 42 years. So much, actually. Yeah, 42 years. Actually, what? Next month. Years. So we've come a long way, but you got to know what's available to you. And therefore, if you could just step out, for like I said, those are negative, get tested. And we can throw that out there if you're okay with that. A part of the ambassadorship for us is there is now the Take Me Home Together campaign.
Talk about it.
That is for individuals to feel and be able to test at home. Well, we know, again, because of stigma, because of shame, because of some folks guilty, you feel guilty about the stuff that you did, when you did it, who you did it with, but you shouldn't, because you got freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want. I'll digress on that. However, what you can do is you can actually go to Take Me Home Together. I'm not sure if we're going to tag that in here, but if not, if you follow both of us, you can actually go to our pages and find the link, and you can actually order 2 at-home tests. You'll get 2, and 2 every 90 days. And these are at-home tests. They're quick swabs. Maybe one day, David, we can come on here and we can just show how quick it is. Swab up, swab down, and within 15 to 20 minutes, you'll have your test results at home. So that is an easy, quick opportunity for you to begin the process of knowing your status, so that, as I say, you can live your whole best life.
See, I told you she was amazing. Didn't I tell y'all? Didn't I tell you all that Shadon McCants was amazing? Listen, if people wanted to find out more about you and the great work that you're doing, how can they do so?
You guys honestly can follow me on all social media platforms. So if you want to know more about my story is on YouTube, and don't get on me. I only got 2 of them out there, but my main story that I dropped on December 19th is actually on YouTube. Everything is under Shadon McCants. I make it real easy, real simple. I'm an open book. You can reach me through DM, through messages. Forgive me, because things have started to pick up for me. So I'm not as quick to respond, but I will respond when I get a moment. But you can follow me on all social media platforms as I continue to do this work as an ambassador for the CDC, and I am champion for another campaign. I am a giant in acting and modeling. Guess what? Just follow me. We got this.
Shadon, thank you so much for sharing time, space, and energy with me. I could not have asked for anything more, anything better. If you have joined us throughout this time, thank you for sharing time and energy and space with Shadon and I. We want to, on behalf of myself and the rest of the amazing ambassadors of CDC's Let's Stop HIV Together campaign, we thank you, and we would like for you to enjoy the rest of your life. Why? Because it's yours to live.
Mhm. It is.
Take care.
Bye.